It's an international break tradition now. Let's review those pre-season 1 to 24 predictions. And we did this in September and October. This is the November edition. We're going to look back at my pre-season prediction for each and every club and say higher, lower, or stick. And we're going to go through in alphabetical order, starting with Birmingham City. I think this might be my most fickle club of the lot. I said 10th pre-season. I stuck with that in September, but then John Eustace had me all excited in October, and I said higher. Since then, not good, and the transition to Wayne Rooney is, well, it's not really happening yet, is it? And they are currently 18th. I do think they'll perk up, but are they going to be in the top 10 now? I'm not sure they are. Let the flip-flopping continue. Birmingham to finish lower than 10th. Blackburn Rovers. I've been fairly stoic on Blackburn so far, but I think I might be ready to make a move. I did say 13th pre-season and stuck with that in both September and October. I'm only one out at the moment with them in 12th. I think I've seen enough though, particularly attacking-wise, to nudge Blackburn into the top half. Let's lock it in. Blackburn to finish higher than 13th. Bristol City. I had Bristol City 14th pre-season, and I have stuck with that both times since. We're in a very tricky moment, though, to make a judgment right now, as they've just appointed Liam Manning, and there's pretty much zero evidence of his work to reflect on to date. I'm not suggesting Liam Manning will make them worse, but I can see a few teams below Bristol City that might slip by their 11th spot right now. So let's hold tight and stick with Bristol City finishing 14th. Cardiff City. Here is my first potential miles out prediction. I had Cardiff finishing in 21st pre-season. Errol Balut has done a decent job and surpassed my expectations for sure. The embargo is over now as well, so the handcuffs are off in the January transfer window too. Cardiff are 9th at the moment. I don't think that'll be far off their finishing spot. So, for the second straight international break, I will confidently say Cardiff to finish higher than 21st. Coventry City. I've just got to let this one go now, haven't I? Such high hopes for Coventry to repeat last season and get into the playoffs once again. I had them finishing 5th. And I've boldly, maybe stubbornly, stuck with that so far. I do still have faith in Mark Robins and the summer signings getting things moving, at least towards the top half. But 5th, not looking likely anymore, is it? Coventry to finish lower than 5th. Huddersfield Town. I'm a bit worried about Huddersfield. They look a bit blunt and perhaps the one side who could get drawn towards the bottom 3. I said 19th pre-season and I've not at any point gone higher than that. We've gone Warnock to Moore. Is that a downgrade? You tell me. For the first time this season, I am moving. I'm having Huddersfield finishing lower than 19th. Hull City. I think we might be in miles out territory with Hull as well. I said 17th pre-season, obviously before the window was concluded and before we saw a very neat and well-coached team out on the pitch. Hull are currently 8th, but I think if they do hold course with injuries, build that pattern of play and the muscle memory, and maybe have a net positive January transfer window, those playoffs are not out of the question. I'm confident in saying Hull to finish comfortably higher than 17th. Ipswich Town. I went for 12th and a top half finish, and that has just been blown clean out of the water by a record-breaking start from Ipswich. 39 points on the board, so 1.2 per game from now on would hit 75 and likely stick Ipswich in the playoffs. That is the form currently of 17th place. Swansea. The playoff line looks good then. Maybe we'll discuss the automatic line another time. Famous last words. But Ipswich to finish higher than 12th seems almost certain already. Leeds United. Now, I left Leeds out of the top 2 pre-season and put them 3rd, really because of a bit of takeover chaos, and also to just have a look and see how Damien Farke settled. Now, like all 3 of the Year 1 parachute teams, Leeds look nice and stable and confident. Slick manager, great attacking roster. I can see them getting 90 points this season or more. Although, they might not be the only ones to do that though. In theory, that should be enough for the top 2, but you never know Leeds to finish higher than third. Leicester City. I've had Leicester as champions from the word go, although I did have a bit of a wobble in September, I have to admit. The Foxes lost back-to-back games going into this international break, but come on, that squad with just 30 to play now and an 8-point advantage at least over the other two Year 1 parachute teams, surely should be able to see this through, barring a fairly catastrophic drop-off. Let's stick with Leicester to win the EFL Championship. Middlesbrough. Right, thank you, Michael Carrick, because my second place prediction for Borough is looking the least disastrous it has all season, and it did look pretty bad a couple of times. They've won 9 in 11 in all competitions, and the trend up looks like a long-term one, thankfully, for what little credibility I have here with these predictions. Look, Borough obviously aren't going to finish second, are they? They're too far behind, but they're looking pretty good for the top 6, maybe by Christmas, aren't they? Borough, lower than second, but looking promising. Millwall. All change at Millwall with Gary Rowett's long stint in charge coming to an end since we last did this, and in comes Joe Edwards. My pre-season call of 7th was far more based on this being a stoic Gary Rowett team, but that is all up in the air now with Edwards, and we'll see what happens. They are currently down in 15th, so although I can see the Lions climb up the table, this is a longer term deal than this season, so I'll have to say Millwall to finish lower than 7th. Norwich City. Now, I should probably put Norwich in the same unpredictability, fickleness bucket as Birmingham, to be honest. I have been all over the place with the Canaries. I said 9th to begin with, then I got very carried away after their start and had them higher in the last 2 1-24 review videos. They've hit the buffers since, dropped to 16th, and things have got more than a bit toxic. Beans, it's so up and down. I will hold course and let things settle, but I'm probably being kind when I say I'm going to stick with Norwich to finish 9th. And on that note of me being kind to Norwich, I'm going to take a quick pause to ask if you could be kind to me. We are in a brave new world of new media. It is fantastic. I can reach thousands of people on this channel, and you can get what I hope is entertaining and interesting content absolutely free. Now, you might see a YouTuber with millions of subscribers and views a week driving a Bentley. It's a bit more modest, I have to say, when you're covering the Championship. So if you can find a few quid each month to support over on Patreon or by hitting the join button here, you are making the world of difference for myself, Shaylee and Enid. Plymouth Argyle. I've had Plymouth in 20th and surviving throughout so far. I've seen them in the flesh now and I haven't changed my mind. Good manager and a couple of really good key individuals should see to that. They are currently 1 place higher than I forecast, sitting in 19th. And as much as I think the bottom 4 may not change, I think the next bunch isn't quite set in stone yet. For that reason, I'll hold fire while it sorts itself out and stick with Plymouth to finish 20th. Preston North End. Preston are this season's data outlier, aren't they? They started brilliantly, dropped off temporarily, but then won back-to-back games to land in 5th spot for this international break. It is superb to see them up there, but the data tells us fine margins and there are some viable contenders in that queue behind them to pinch the playoff spot they currently occupy. I can see them dropping down a bit, but not as far as the 15th I said pre-season though. Preston to be higher than 15th. QPR. I had Rangers finishing 22nd and getting relegated. They are currently 23rd, but there's a new manager, so we're not in doing the same thing, expecting results type insanity. Maybe they are the best placed of the bottom 3 to make a push and get out of trouble, but they're 5 points adrift and teams at the bottom do not move quickly. I'll admit I do have a very good feeling about Marti Cifuentes, but I need to see the evidence. So for now, I'm going to stay calm and stick with QPR to finish 22nd. Rotherham United. At time of recording, Rotherham are without a manager, having sacked Matt Taylor. That could change, but right here and now it's a tough one for me to forecast their direction of travel pre-season. I said 23rd, they're currently 22nd, and unless someone comes in and has a massive impact, they won't be too far away from there in May. I've stuck with this prediction every time we've done a review. Sorry, Millers fans, one more time. I'll stick with Rotherham finishing in 23rd. Sheffield Wednesday. Wednesday were my pre-season pick to finish bottom, thank you to a Mr. Chansiri instigated chaotic summer period. Since we last did this, they've switched from Cisco to Roll. Results haven't picked up really, and the Owls are 4 points adrift at the bottom. I did have a little bit of optimism in September, but the chaos has continued. 5 points in 11 games on the pitch as well suggests I should probably stick with my call of Sheffield Wednesday to finish bottom. Southampton. Southampton, this one is a tricky one. I said 4th pre-season and they're currently 4th, although nobody has scored more points over the past 8 games than Saints, so the trend is clearly upwards. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth here with them currently exactly where I said they'd be, and I certainly don't imagine Saints will be dropping any further down than where they are now. So with every possibility they are going to be moving up over the long term, I'm going to play it safe and cautious and stick with Southampton to finish 4th. Stoke City. Yep, here come Stoke, or Bloody Stoke as they get referred to here, for constantly stitching me up over the years with my predictions. Nothing has changed this time around, has it? I said 16th. They started well, and I went higher. They dropped off, so I went back to 16th. And now, of course, they're on a run of 5 undefeated and with 4 straight clean sheets. I will never learn, will I? Let's get back on the Bet365 bus. I'm going to get behind Stoke and say they are going to finish higher than my prediction of 16th. Sunderland. I thought Sunderland might get a bit lost in the shuffle for the playoffs this season in kind of a too much too soon type drop-off after doing so well last season following League One promotion. I didn't have them missing by much in 8th spot, but I've been consistently saying that they'll be higher than that ever since. They look really fun, really open. Maybe that might be their downfall in the long run. I think I'm going to carry on with the same take. I think Sunderland will either just get into the top 6 or just miss out. Either way, Sunderland to be higher than 8th. Swansea City. As this sorting process goes on through the winter, I'm not entirely sure how Swansea are going to come out of it, to be honest. I said 11th in pre-season and have gone lower and then stick since then. Other than one superb 4-game win streak, it's not really been that great, has it? And I'm not sure I've got grounds to back up that top half finish I predicted. I do think they'll shift up a bit from 17th where they are right now, but I still have Swansea to finish lower than 11th. Watford. This was my wild card, wasn't it? Big Val getting Watford into the playoffs and finishing 6th. I've kind of regretted saying that for most of the season, but they are in good form now. 6 undefeated, clean sheets in 4 of the last 5. I can't see them matching my prediction of 6th, but maybe a top 10 finish is at least on the cards now. Reason for optimism, I think, but Watford still to finish lower than 6th. West Brom. West Brom might be on the way to stitching me up good and proper this season. I said 18th before a ball was kicked on the basis of a quiet transfer window and the promise of financial meltdown off the pitch. In adversity, Carlos Corberan has stepped up and built a really competitive side, frankly. The Baggies are 7th, sniffing around the playoff spots. Whether they get in or not, I'm not entirely sure right now, but what I can be fairly certain on is they look odds on to be higher than 18th. There you go, that is my updated championship prediction. Shall we do it again maybe when we get to the FA Cup 3rd round in early January? Now, you guys seem to really enjoy hearing about good old Richard and Dick on the last video, so I will give you a bit of an update on those two. Richard has been busy commenting on my last higher or lower video. Now, he did actually disagree with what I said about his team, but he was really kind of chill about it and got his point across without totally losing his head. Now, Dick, oh, Dick, he never learns, does he? Even though his team were on a terrible run, he got so emotional with me pointing out that reality that he actually punched the wall, damaged his texting thumb, and he couldn't leave any negative comments on the internet for 2 whole hours after that. Poor old Dick. Anyway, get involved in the comments as always. And remember, be a Richard, don't be a Dick. As always on these videos, there is only one bit of content to link back to and absolutely no place to hide with that. Click here to go all the way back in the time machine to July and see the original, the first, my pre-season 1 to 24 predictions.